Welcome to a very special 10th episode of Reese Rambles. Why is it special, you ask? Well, if you managed to get here without reading the title somehow, it's special because I have a special guest, and that guest is Lee from the YouTube channel More Fun Making It. And it's a bit of an unstructured chat. I didn't really want to come up with a list of questions and just kind of bombard him with questions in a Q&A type thing. So just a bit of an informal chat between two people who share these common interests of fixing stuff and making videos about it, and I hope you enjoy. It's a bit of a long one, so I think we should get straight into it. So I thought we'd start talking about how we met, so to speak, online, because we did have a bit of a chat about this the other day, didn't we? And we were trying to work out who found who first.
I'm pretty sure it was me that found you.
Do you think?
I remember it that at the time I was quite heavily into Twitter. Because of all the projects I was doing, I basically wasn't on YouTube to start with, and I was just getting into the mindset where I was thinking, I need to be doing this. I need to be actually starting to do this, and I was looking around at other people's channels, and I'm pretty sure that you were one of the ones that popped up.
Yeah, because I know I think around that time I was trying to get my watch hours up on YouTube, because obviously you need 4,000 watch hours or whatever it is to get into the partner program to monetize the channel. So I was doing quite a lot of live streaming, and it was that kind of lockdown era. I know you were doing a lot of live streaming as well, because I was watching your pinball table build live streams. In fact, I was there in the chat watching the stream the very first time you when it was all finished, the very first time you fired it up.
Oh, that was the fake episode 13. And I get a lot of people complain about that episode, actually, because it's hidden.
Yeah, well, I mean, my complaint at the time was that it was a work night and I was trying to go to bed, and you kept saying, no, don't go. It's going to work. It'll work this time. And you had all sorts of problems. I was sat there watching it thinking, oh, he's put so much work into this and he's desperate to show it to me, and it's not working. But it did in the end.
There were other people.
It all came together. Yeah, no, I should add that, yeah, it wasn't just me. And that would be a bit weird, wouldn't it?
Private viewing, yeah. But no, that because I'd done all of those episodes off the back of making the arcade cabinet, and then basically when I was doing that pinball machine, I was putting out an episode almost every week of me creating something, actually building something, filming it, editing it, and releasing it once a week. I have no idea how I did that now. I couldn't do that now. And I was looking at my stats before I came on here, because I knew we were going to be talking about our history. And around that time, I just, my channel was growing not slowly as it does when you're, I think I was around 400 subs, something like that. And I was just getting into the swing of actually making YouTube videos. And then once I finished that pinball table, I looked at everything in my workshop and thought, I can't do this anymore. This is the end of it. I can't face actually picking up another tool or putting anything together or fixing anything. And I didn't for 6 solid months. I didn't do a single thing. And then what you see now on my channel is what I started to do after that.
Yeah, I presume you actually played with the pinball table after you.
No.
More fun making it. True to the true to the spirit of the channel.
Exactly.
It's absolutely true. No, I'm exactly the same with my projects as well. I spend so much time fixing stuff and getting it working, and then once it's done, it's like, oh, we'll just move on to the next thing.
I was actually quite embarrassed about that, because it served as a great backdrop in video calls. They used to be over my left shoulder here, and I was terrified of actually knocking it because of the artwork on the side, and it was in here for over a year. Probably 18 months, and so many close calls with things falling over and just missing it by a hair's breadth. And then Paul, Universal Retro Boss Paul, who I mention a lot on my channel, I regularly did this. I would show the pinball table just to get a bit of engagement on Twitter and get people talking about it again, just to see if I would get engaged with it and maybe finish it. And he offered to buy it.
Okay.
And I hadn't touched it. I could completely forgotten everything about it. I didn't know how it was put together or anything by this point. So I had to relearn everything inside it, pretty much rebuild it. And I spent the next month and a half solidly just playing it.
Okay.
As much as I could, and I did get a good 6 weeks of playing, and I fell in love with it again. And there was definitely a little tear in my eye when I let it go.
I mean, was that the plan from the start to sort of sell it? Or...
Oh, it was always the plan to sell it.
Okay.
Not for profit, and I didn't make a profit. In fact, I priced it for the parts, just everything that I put into it. That's how much I charged, which is, a lot of people have said you could have got so much more money for that. But that's not why we do this, No, not at all. And if you are in this sort of hobby for profit, then you're not having fun. You're definitely not having fun.
No, and you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment as well.
Yes, absolutely. I had a couple of comments that people were saying, "Oh, maybe you could do this for a living, like making pinball machines." And I'm thinking, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to take something that I've enjoyed doing and make myself do it again and again and again until I really hate it?
Obviously, Universal Retro Boss is one of those names that you see around all the time, and he's kind of a really big member of the community. And it's good that it's kind of gone to someone who will genuinely appreciate it and enjoy it as well. So
he
cool.
does, and I've been back to visit it.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the guy who's supplying me with all my broken machines.
Ah,
yeah.
This endless supply of. I can see behind you. Obviously, this is an audio only thing, but for the benefit of the listeners, there is a big pile of Commodore 64s and eBay boxes.
Well, those eBay boxes are full of Commodore 64s.
More Commodore 64s.
There's a dozen of them there.
I don't think I'd discovered you at this point, but before you did the pinball table, you did a bar top arcade machine as well, didn't you?
Yeah, Terrycade. But I did another one before that.
Terrycade.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did. It's on my website, actually. I had a quick scan through to remind myself, because I've got a terrible memory. I did Beatencade. This was at the start of lockdown. I was just making stuff out of wood, and I spending all my time in the garden just creating stuff. I made a bench for my cat. That was a big success. That's still, the cat's not here anymore, but the bench still survives. But yeah, my great nephews, they must have been 8 to 10, something like that sort of age range, and I'm obviously their hero. Mine
Obviously,
their actual uncle. I'm their great uncle, but their actual uncle disputes this fact. But it's indisputable, really. And I thought I would brighten their lockdown up by making them an arcade machine. And I happened to have pretty much everything I needed to make this. I had some spare parts. I've made arcade machines in the past, but then stripped them back down when the Frankencade thing that I made first was a disaster years ago. And I'd just taken all the controls out of that, and I had all the controls in a box. I had a screen, I had some speakers, I had bits and pieces, and I had the wood, and I was getting tools and things together to do this level of woodworking. And halfway through the Beatencade, I got myself a table saw, and it all just snowballed. But that was the genesis of the whole thing. Actually, was Beatencade, and I made this tiny little bar top arcade with a tiny screen in it, but it was just big enough for these two miniature humans to stand next to each other and beat hell out of each other on Street Fighter or whatever. And that went down incredibly well. But I put that all on Twitter.
Okay.
No YouTube interest at the time. And that kind of built up a bit of a following, because I just made a big thread of that, just going on and on and on, that garnered some attention from the community. And that whole thread is actually on my website, morefunmakingit.co.uk. Thank you for the plug.
There we go. I will link that in the usual places, of course.
And the next one after that was Terrycade, which my neighbour Terry had looked over my fence and said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm making an arcade machine for my nephews." And he said, "Oh, yeah," jokingly, "want to make me one?" I went, "All right then." And so,
why not?
You pay for it, I'll make it. So I did.
Kind of a very similar story to how my channel came about, because I started on Instagram and I was just posting pictures of all projects and stuff that I was working on.
I've always saw you as an Insta influencer.
Yeah, obviously. #influencer. I kind of went from there onto YouTube. So kind of very similar story. So when did your channel start?
Terrycade was June or July 2020. They were the first ones. I did do, there is a video that's unlisted on my channel, which is actually, I'm looking at it now, it's the 22nd of June 2020, where I did it's got 6,000 views. It's actually it was really popular, and I unlisted it because it was getting out of control, and it was basically representing my channel, and I hated the thought of this.
Been there.
So it was just me demonstrating how you could use an Arduino Pro Micro as an arcade controls encoder. Yeah, that's where I started uploading things, and I thought, oh, people actually watch this stuff, and it was a bit of a surprise to me. But the casting around for other people like yourself, that when I actually started, I had lots of questions. And I'm sure I asked you questions. I think if we go back through our Twitter history, a lot of it is me saying, YouTube, what do I do about this? In fact, one of them was, what category? I remember asking you what category I should put my stuff in, because it's not clear.
No, I'm sure my reply was probably along the lines of, I have no idea. I have no idea either.
It was pretty much that, yeah. But I think you did actually give me an answer based on what your experience was, but... it didn't make any sense either way, whichever way we did it.
I sometimes put stuff in science and technology, and I sometimes put it in gaming. And
I was putting it in gaming for a while, and it didn't seem to do anything. But I don't think it makes any difference. I really don't.
I think in the gaming category, you're kind of up against, all the Fortnite and Minecraft streamers and those kind of people. So maybe best to stick to science and technology.
Yeah, not much of what I do is scientific.
Well, there's the scientific method. Obviously, try it, fail, try again, and
lots of that.
We'll follow the same process, don't we?
Part of the core of my channel is failing and showing my mistakes. People really seem to like that. I get a lot of comments of people saying, "Oh yeah, you did that and you got it wrong."
I hope they're polite comments at least.
Most of them are, yeah, but you do get a few actualities.
I mean, I'm the same. I try to, if I do something wrong, I try to show it and say, look, I did it this way initially, and it's not right, and this is what I did to fix it. Just because if someone else is following along and they're planning on kind of doing the same project, it kind of shows them what to avoid and shows them the way not to do it, which makes sense to me. But then some people will kind of see that as a weakness and a way to have a go at you. But thankfully, touch wood, it's those people are still quite rare, aren't they? So
yeah,
there's YouTube, social media.
Well, we got to appreciate the engagement. So.
Exactly, it's all about the engagement.
Yeah,
it's all good. That's what people don't realise. They give you a thumbs down, or they say, "Oh, I don't like your face," but actually, it's good as far as the algorithm's concerned. It's like I'm going to get some more views off the back of this. So.
Yeah, and YouTube will find other people that hate me.
Yeah. So. Obviously, before you started the channel, did you have any kind of experience making videos or any kind of aspirations along that kind of theme?
Yeah, I'd done a few things. I used to be part of a podcast, a long-running podcast that had been going. I think we recently had a 10th anniversary. And I only joined sort of like halfway through and just, jumped on the bandwagon while they were popular. And we did, that was an audio podcast, but we also had a YouTube channel and we'd do a lot of gaming stuff. I was a hardcore, not hardcore gamer as in the derogatory sense, but I used to play a lot of games. And I was quite into my modern stuff. So I got into VR really early on with VR. And I came into the podcast as kind of like the guy that does VR. And part of the what we did was on the YouTube side of it was like gameplay stuff, but we'd also do some funny set piece stuff. But like myself and Richard, who was the main host of the podcast, we'd get in VR and just muck about and do some stupid things like gunfights. And there's one on there where I'm playing. I don't like horror games, and I really don't like VR horror games. And he made me play this horror game, and he kind of kept me company as I was doing it. And he just waited until the quietest little moment and just shrieked down the microphone. But that's all still up there. I think it's Ready Player 2 TV. There's a load of videos. There's me playing Beat Saber in VR and like mixed reality and stuff, that sort of thing.
So you never talk about that. You've never mentioned that to me.
I'm sorry, I've got lots of secrets, Reese.
It's hidden past, you see. This is why we're doing this, so I can...
I'm like an onion.
Pick your brain and unravel you layer by layer. Yeah. That sounds wrong, doesn't it?
You and I, we talk about YouTube a lot, don't we?
We do talk about YouTube a lot. Yeah, we like to pick it apart and sort of share our stats and try and work out the algorithm and all of that kind of stuff, don't we? Try to come up with strategies, critique each other's thumbnails, and
make each other cry.
Moan at each other for not doing subtitles properly, and all of that boring YouTuber stuff.
Oh, do you know what you do that really winds me up?
Go on.
You've done it again. You don't put your thumbnail in the tweet. Racist.
I know. Because Twitter, obviously Twitter, if you just post a link that goes off-site, they kind of massively penalise you for that, don't they? They don't like sending traffic away from Twitter. So the best thing to do is to put the thumbnail in the tweet, because they don't like embedding the video, and they don't always show the thumbnail, do they? So no. I know that, but I've kind of semi-given up on Twitter anyway.
Yeah, I don't blame you, but actually, I do blame you. Yes, no, I'm sorry, I retract that statement. I do blame you. I think Twitter is, apart from, I don't know, the science ape at the top of it, Twitter has been brilliant for me, and I would not be where I am now without Twitter. In fact, it gave me a community, because before lockdown, 2019, all of my time, and I've joked about this in the past, was used to practice or play snooker.
Okay.
I'm quite an obsessive personality. I will take up a pastime and I will try and make myself as good as I can possibly be. The reason I took up snooker was because I got too badly injured to play tennis. And I used to play tennis for years and years. I got good enough to I was like the club coach and men's A-team captain, and won the singles title in the town. And that, I was getting quite good at tennis, and then, I had to give it up. And I go through a few months of not knowing what to do, and then I will find something, and it was snooker. And then it was, for a little while, it was just woodwork. And then I always go back to gaming, and being old, I quite like the vintage stuff as well. So the retro community on Twitter really did rescue me. It gave me a community. It gave me a social part of life at a time when I had nothing, and living in quite difficult circumstances. I know everybody was, but it was tough. And Twitter, I can't understate enough how that really did help me get through some difficult days, and then gave me something, because off of the back of that, I started this YouTube thing, and I've met some amazing people, and you, and me. I'm never going to get tired of that joke.
Because we did physically meet a few weeks ago, didn't we? Yeah. We went to the cave.
We're now physical friends. Yeah.
Again, that sounds a bit dodgy.
That was, what a day that was. What a place that is.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing really what Neil's built. And I mean, that was kind of, his whole community was kind of a big, in the same way that Twitter was for you during lockdown and that kind of time. It was kind of Neil's community and his Discord and stuff that I kind of latched onto. And, I'm very, very good friends with a lot of people on there now. I've made some really good friends through that community, which is why I've always kind of tried to support him, because I think I got quite a lot out of it at the time.
Yeah, you got to give back. And I've found that by doing that, you just get more anyway. So, it's something that feeds off of itself. Every time that I try and do something just completely unselfishly, I'll try and... somebody donated an Atari 2600. That was Gothmog Plays on Twitter. And he donated an Atari, and I decided to auction it for charity. And, things blew up for me at that point, but I never wanted that. I just wanted to do something nice for someone else. And it was weird, because I was getting people sending me, I was asking for the Twitter community to help out and make the bundle as good as possible. So people were sending me controllers and games and things. And, Peter, the Gamer Tepic, I think he's on Twitter. He drove all the way from, I believe it was, I'm not going to say where he lives, about an hour away from me. Drove all the way over here, met me in a car park in Sainsbury's. And he had a bunch of games, and he said, "Oh, do you want this as well?" Handed me a bag, and I said, "What's this?" "Oh, you can have that. I don't need it." There's another Atari. In fact, that Atari I gave away to somebody else that needed an Atari. The more you give back to the community, the more you get. And I've had so much stuff; it's ridiculous. I won't deny that part of the influence or the motivation for wanting to do this in the first place was because you would watch channels like Neil's and Adrian Black and Jan Beta and Noel, and watching them get free stuff. They're getting free stuff, and people are sending them free stuff. I don't know. I quite like free stuff.
Yeah. Free stuff is a good incentive, a good driver, definitely.
Yeah. But I've got too much free stuff now.
And then you get to the point where everyone's offering you stuff and you feel really bad because you're having to turn it down. And when it does arrive, you end up sitting on it for ages because you've already got a huge mountain of projects to work on. And it's like, and it's quite a hard thing to explain without coming across as ungrateful, isn't it? But
yeah, really, really tricky.
The YouTuber's curse, or one of many. Very cool. Yeah, that's the thing with Atari 2600s, isn't it? Once you get one and kind of make it known that you've got it, they seem to start to multiply. I mean, I can see at least 3 from where I'm sat. And I think I only bought one of those. I'm not quite sure where the other ones came from.
I think the only one I still own is Trash Bag, which
oh yes,
there's certain machines that you'll never. Well, I couldn't sell it because it's I don't think it would carry on working for too much longer if it was used.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're a lot further along than me with the like the troubleshooting skills and the electronic skills and stuff. And
but you dive into the history of things, and I haven't got the patience for that.
Slightly different approaches, aren't they? Really, which is great.
Yeah.
It's great to obviously everyone kind of has their own way of going about things and kind of finds their own niche and kind of their own hook. And
well, that's the thing. Anybody thinking I'd quite like to I want to have a go at this YouTube thing.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, okay, so if you're doing that, don't just turn the camera on and expect YouTube stuff to happen. Unless you've got an amazing project. So for instance, the pinball machine was a, without being too humble bragging, that was an incredible project. That was from start to finish. I'm so proud of how that turned out, and I was basically just going out, doing the work with a camera on all the time, and then editing that down to a reasonable, and having a little chat over the top of it. But unless you've got something like that, if you just want to sit in your games room and talk about things, that's fine. But don't expect people to want to listen to that for more than a couple of episodes, unless you are a glowing personality. YouTube is made up of all sorts of different things, or YouTube videos are made up of all sorts of different things. You either have to have something amazing to talk about, or you have to be someone amazing to talk about something. And there's always, obviously, you've got the second and the first, but
obviously.
But yeah, you just you've got to come at YouTube with an attitude of, right, I want to do this, but how am I going to do it? What can I bring to the table that's going to be that's going to make me stand out?
That's very interesting, because when I first started, I was very much of the opinion of, I'm working on something, I need to record as much footage of it as possible because I might need to use it later. And then you sit down and you've got hours and hours and gigabytes of stuff, and you've got to sift through it all and find the interesting bits and try and sort of turn it into some kind of narrative. And I got to a point with all that where I just thought, this isn't, I don't enjoy this kind of way of going about things. Obviously, a lot of people work that way, and that's great. But I kind of had to find my own approach, and I think I've settled on something that I'm happy with. Obviously, kind of try to find the story in it, and then work from there, really. I mean, like this Atari PC, obviously the last couple of videos that I've done, getting that fixed up and sort of getting the original software and stuff set up on it. It was very much a case of, okay, let's tell the story of kind of Atari's PC division and how that came about, and Jack Tramiel and all of that kind of stuff, and then use the PC to kind of illustrate that and tell the story of what I'm doing with it and fixing it up as I go along. And I really enjoyed that approach, and I think that's something that obviously I'm going to kind of stick with and do for future videos. But again, like you say, it's a case of finding your way of doing things, and that's the great thing about YouTube, that there are so many people out there that have all of these different approaches, and I watch all of them and I enjoy all of them.
Yeah, and there's that variety is a great thing. But the word that you said there that really sticks out to me is story, and we speak about this. It's another thing that we often come back to in our conversations is story. it didn't take very long for you and I both separately to find that that's the key to keeping somebody interested in your video. And the way that we go about editing things is, where is the story? I've got all this footage, and sometimes I've had a repair, and it's, I've got a computer, it's broken, and I changed this thing in it, and now it's not broken. It's not much of a story. Yeah,
that's the thing. Because you can make a video, saying, this is how to fix this specific fault with on a ZX Spectrum or whatever, and it's useful to people who have that fault and need to know how to fix it. And you're always going to get that kind of background traffic of people looking for specific things, but it's kind of that wider audience. It's kind of connecting with those people that don't have a specific interest in that machine or a specific need.
Yeah.
They just watch you for you and sort of find it entertaining and hopefully educational as well.
I try really, really hard not to be too educational. I find that's where all the pitfalls are. The bare fact is that I'm not an expert. I only really got into this just, a couple of years ago. I've always been interested in, I've always been the sort of person that takes things apart. Used to be an electrician, so I have a bit of a background in the fundamentals, but not electronics. And I've, taught myself through YouTube and watching other people and researching stuff by myself. But I've always said I'm not an expert. I mean, I don't say it at the top of every video, but I think it's pretty clear. I think most people understand that I'm not the sort of person that is going to say this is how, or this is a guide to, and the YouTube auto or the AI generated titles will say, this is a guide to fixing a Spectrum in 3 easy steps, and no, that's not how I do it. I throw myself at a problem and hope that the good bits stick, and that's part of the entertainment. That's what I hope I'm bringing to it is the guy, just a normal guy fixing stuff and having a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, you have to take people along on that journey, don't you?
Yeah.
You do a good job of that.
Thank you. Oh, that's very kind of you to say so.
The whole find the story thing, I mean, I kind of stole that from another channel that I watch, a channel called Abroad in Japan. It's a British guy who lives in Japan. And there's quite a lot of people, obviously British people living over there, who make videos about Japanese stuff and about the festivals and that kind of thing. But whenever he is interviewed about YouTube and stuff, which he doesn't do very often, he doesn't really talk about his process and stuff all that often. But when people ask him the question, do you have any advice for someone, wanting to get started with YouTube? He always says, find the story. Try to tell a story with every video. And he's from an actual filmmaking background. So yeah, it's something that I kind of really took to heart when he said it. And then obviously when people ask me the same question, I pass that useful advice on and just take the credit for it and say, it's all my idea. I came up with this all on my own.
You said really well. I probably stole it from you as well. But I've always been interested in story. I used to write fiction for myself.
Okay.
I'm actually an award-winning author.
Are you?
Well, I won a competition for a short story once, but so I call that me as an award-winning author. But I've always been interested in fiction and the way that stories fit together, the actual nuts and bolts of how that process of getting the words off of the page and into someone's mind in a way that will affect them. That's something that's always interested me. So yeah, I kind of try to apply that. Not so much with the early stuff, but now I'm always trying to look for the beginning, middle, and end of a story. That's a bit of a cliche,
three act structure.
Yeah, indeed. The hero's journey, and I'm not the hero. The Spectrum that I fixed is the hero. But that's always been something that I'm conscious of when I'm editing my videos. So a story is our craft, I think. I like the idea that we're putting stories out there for a wider audience, because when you make a technical video, you're instantly going to get technical people say, well, actually, what you should be doing is this, and pretty much every single video that I make, there will be a comment from somebody that tears apart everything I've done, completely misses the point of the video. It's not a technical exercise. I'm not trying to do it in the perfect way. I'm certainly not trying to do it how they would do it, because I'm not them. And the point of the video is to share my journey of fixing some random old rubbish.
It's the old applying thermal paste on camera, isn't it? That's kind of the classic one. It's, no matter which way you do it, you're going to get a load of complaints from people saying that you're doing it wrong, even though it's just one of those things that everyone does slightly differently. And as long as it works, does it really matter?
Yeah, I quite like the there's Sticks Fix. I can never remember his channel that he always just puts it on wrong. Just does it on purpose.
I must admit, I've stolen LGR's approach of, kind of obscuring the camera with my hand as I do it, so people can't quite see.
So I don't have to use it very much, so just on voltage regulators and things like that.
Not on the kind of old stuff that we tinker with. That was on the Xbox. So.
Right, yeah, that's a good video. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my actual console that I had from new, and I was doing that anyway. So I thought, well, this is kind of on topic for the channel, so I may as well make a video out of it. Like I say, as a content creator, it's how can I turn everything that I do into some kind of content and monetize it?
Did you back in the Xbox day? Were you involved in any shenanigans on the inside of the Xbox?
I wasn't. I got as far as. Because I got the Crystal Xbox, and I got as far as taking it apart and taking the heat shielding out, and then putting it back together without the heat shielding, so you could see
all the nicer. Yeah.
So you can see all the innards. I had a couple of friends who had modded Xboxes with the mod chips and all the bright blue LEDs and all that kind of stuff. But I think at the time I was a poor student, and I was a bit too scared of breaking it, so I didn't venture that far. I
like to say I was interested in everything technical, every single console. I had up to a certain point, I think probably up to PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 sort of era. Xbox 360, not PlayStation 3, but I hacked and modded and did everything to every console I ever owned. GameCube, PlayStation 1, N64, everything had something. Wii had something done to it to make it do nefarious things. And it was always the case that I wouldn't be interested in actually downloading pirated games and things. I would just want to make it do something that it was supposed to do. So yeah, that's been the way I make things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I soft modded my Wii back in the day, but I think before that, the kind of the mods that I did before that, one of the very first ones I did was a Mega Drive, and I did the region switch mod, soldering a switch into it.
Mod, yeah.
But I didn't actually own any games from any other regions to actually test it, and I still don't. I've still got that console, and I've never actually used that mod, but I just did it for the technical, just to say that I'd done it. I did an internal IDE hard drive mod on my childhood Atari STE. I found that in the loft like 15 years ago, and went on the internet looking for information. It was like, oh, you can stuff a hard drive in these nowadays. Oh, I'll give that a go. No. Yeah, so that was kind of how it all started. But my actual kind of current gen stuff, I mean, I was into like building PCs and that kind of thing. I did build like a pimped out PC with a case window and all the cold cathode lights and all that kind of stuff. Nice. So I was more into kind of tinkering on that side than sort of messing with like current gen consoles and things that had cost me a lot of money that I didn't really want to risk breaking. So yeah, interesting. So you're one of those mod chipping, piracy, black market types. Well, that's your background.
That's
it's all coming out now, isn't it?
I've been through the years a filthy pirate. Because I am quite old. I was, how old would I have been? In 1982, I was 13 when I got my Spectrum.
Okay, I wasn't even born in 1982, but...
yeah, I'm a very old man.
You don't look that old.
No, I've got boyish good looks, that's what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
So ZX Spectrum, it taught you to pirate, basically, and it was the done thing. It was a terrible thing, but looking back now, I do have some regrets about some of that, but... it didn't stop me when I got to the Amiga from copying every floppy disk that I could. I mean, it was almost like an obsession back then, trying to get every game and never playing any of them. And,
No.
and I don't hold any sway in the fact that they say that every pirated copy cost the developers. No, it didn't. I was not interested in buying those games. Just wanted to copy them. It was a collecting thing.
That's the thing, isn't it? You play them for 5 minutes and it's like, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Like you say, you wouldn't have bought it in the first place.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of people. You talk to a lot of people kind of in the technology industry nowadays who kind of learnt their skills doing that kind of stuff back in the day, and it's all kind of feeds into it. So yeah,
absolutely. Not so much in the PC era, but for me, and I'm not sure what went wrong there, but it all got a bit dark and murky. But I got myself out of that. I'd make a point now of looking for the paid option that does the more honest software developers as much good as possible. So, for instance, I don't like Adobe. I'm a bit anti Adobe, so I went off and found, and they're probably terrible people. I don't know. I went and found an alternative to Photoshop, which is Affinity Photo.
okay.
And I bought the license for that. And I like the fact that I don't have to pay a subscription for it. That's a good thing. And DaVinci Resolve, which we're both huge fans of.
I was going to say, we're both Resolve fanboys, aren't we?
Yeah.
In a big way. Maybe to the
God.
point of annoying people at times, but
It's almost like a sport now.
it is. We're like Mac users or
Yeah.
Amiga fans.
Don't start them off.
But it's all engagement.
Yeah, apparently.
But so I mean, did you start with Resolve or?
I can't remember when I went over to Resolve. It wouldn't have been too long, and I remember the reason I went over to Resolve. The name of the software escapes me, but it was at the time. It was considered the one that I was using was considered one of the better free versions. I wasn't going to buy something at that point. I just needed something just to throw the clips together. But because everything that I was doing was condensed down from hours of footage of me cutting bits of wood up and making lots of sawdust, I needed something that could do speed ramps and accelerated footage really quite easily. And the software that I was using, that I used to use for the Ready Player 2 YouTube stuff, wouldn't do that. It was one of the paid options.
Right.
Was to actually speed up footage. You had to pay extra to get that option. And I used to have to take the clip that I wanted and import that into some other software. I think it's probably Handbrake or something like that. And use that to compress the clip down to the speed that I wanted roughly. It would never be exact. And then re-import. It was just a massive ball ache to actually get that from, it into the final piece of editing. So I was desperate for something. And I was thinking of actually going down the Premiere Pro route and paying for some Adobe software, and I just stumbled across DaVinci Resolve. I just must have seen a video. Somebody did a YouTube video, and it was don't know what version they were on at the time, but it was over a couple of years ago, and I couldn't believe it. It completely blew my socks off. Well, after I got over the initial how do you use all this stuff, this is completely the worst piece of software I've ever seen in my life. And all the time that I've used Resolve, I've never gone onto their forums to ask a question. I will just, if I need to know how to do something, I'll go and look on YouTube. Because there's just dozens of people just doing what we do, but with the Resolve.
Yeah, no, there's some absolutely brilliant. I can't remember that. I think Mr. Alex Tech is one of them who does a lot of Resolve
Casey
stuff.
Ferris is another.
Yes, that was the other one. That was the one I was trying to remember the name of.
He's excellent. He taught me a lot. But yeah, Mr. Alex Tech, he's really upped his game lately. There's some brilliant stuff. But the things you can do in Resolve, especially, I mean, we both own the full license. I didn't get the speed deck like you did, but regrettably, you're going to hold it up for me now, aren't you?
I'm just going to flex on you here with the with the speed editor. Yeah, because I mean, I used Premiere for years and I was really happy with it. And I still pay for it because I need an Adobe subscription for my day job because people send us Photoshop stuff and Illustrator stuff and all that kind of thing. So I actually still pay for Premiere because I pay for the whole suite. But it reached a point on my old laptop where it was just... And I remember I had a specific project that I was working on. And I'd put like weeks and weeks into this video. I can't remember exactly which video it was. And it just wouldn't export. It would just crash like halfway through every single time. No. And it took me days. It turned out that there was like a bad frame in one of the videos. I mean, I actually went back to kind of all of the source videos in the project. And I ran them all through FFmpeg, just straight through and just re-encoded them. And it picked up like... It must have been like 2 or 3 bad frames in one of the source videos. And after I fixed that, it was okay and it exported, but it put me off Premiere. And I thought, no, I need an alternative. And it was kind of around the time that, you know, DaVinci were doing one of their big marketing pushes and all of these YouTube channels were doing, I'm switching to Resolve kind of thing, and checked it out. And I didn't use it for long before I thought, I'm going to pay for this and I'm going to get the fancy speed editor and... this is my life now. And then shortly after that, I got the M1 Mac, and that's what I use for all my editing. My tiny little MacBook Air. I don't even use an external monitor because the built-in screen is so good that it makes my external monitor a bit painful to use. So yeah, I do everything on a little 13-inch screen. All my videos.
It's actually one of the things that's I've never. I own an iPad. I don't own any other Apple devices. I'm not a big Apple fan.
No, I didn't for years. I mean, I had a Mac Mini when I was like in uni back in the day, like 15 years ago. I don't really know why I bought that. I was making a lot of videos.
Young and impressionable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely didn't have the money at the time, but yeah, I was making a lot of videos with like a handheld Digital 8 camcorder, and obviously it had the FireWire built in. And
was this the porn years?
I guess that was part. Well, we don't talk about those.
Oh, right, sorry.
But
yeah, but Resolve is actually it's winning me round to actually an Apple device to do my editing on. My PC is doing well at the moment. I've got a reasonable spec gaming PC from 5 or 6 years ago. And it flies at the moment, but I know there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to make a decision whether to gut this and upgrade it or just replace it with something with Apple Silicon inside. Yeah,
well, obviously we've both been doing some Resolve consulting for Mr. Yawning Angel with his excellent Amiga channel. Give him a shout out. Because he does all of his editing on an iPad using Resolve. And I was amazed at how well it works, on an iPad. I mean, it's incredible, really, that you can actually edit proper videos on something like that these days. And
that is quite impressive that they've squeezed the pretty much the same sort of power into a tablet. I can't get my head around that. I feel like this is my age catching up with me now. But I'm now getting to the point where this is technology I don't understand, so therefore it can't possibly work. But when he first shared that he was editing on an iPad, I thought, why are you doing that? It's got to be much easier on a PC. And the interface that he showed looked really cut down. Yeah. But he then later he realised that he'd just had some tabs hidden. Yeah. And that all of the functionality is actually there. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, that's actually quite impressive. Yeah. I'd quite like to have a go at that.
Because it was just the cut page, wasn't it? And I was, because I'm obviously famously one of those people who refuses to use the cut page, even though it would probably make my life a hell of a lot easier. And he was doing everything in it. And I was like, obviously a very cut down version. And then, it just popped up and it's like, oh, by the way, I've just found this option that just enables everything. And it's like, oh my God, it's like full blown DaVinci Resolve on a tablet.
Yeah. Quite impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's got to be a bottleneck somewhere. But the cut page is definitely my bottleneck. I don't like the cut page, and I don't understand why Mark does. Sorry, Mark.
Oh, he loves it. Well, different workflows for different people, isn't it? So, and
it's just wrong.
You see, I'm not quite as much of an evangelist as you. I will say to people, try a few different editors and find the one that works for you, because there are a few different workflows.
I'll say exactly the same thing. I'll say try a few different editors and then try Resolve, because that will work for you.
And then just use Resolve.
Yeah.
Because it's the answer to all of your problems in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, any other YouTube words of advice, or
don't expect to make money from it?
Unless you do videos about solar power.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, make videos about solar power. That's a good tip.
That's a great tip. No, the number one thing is find a community. Yes. And there are actually two communities that you need to find. One is your audience, but another one is other YouTubers. If you can gather other YouTubers around you, and this is something that we've done, you'll just benefit from that more than anything else, more than any single piece of wisdom that the best YouTuber in the world. You could ask Mr. Beast, his advice on your channel, and he probably would give you 1 million subscribers or something just by talking to you. But the difference it made to me making videos, I can't understate. It was huge, because you can pick and choose different pieces that from different people. You'll get lots of advice from your friends and everybody's really friendly. All of the YouTubers that I know, they're just so friendly and want to help each other. It's actually quite humbling. But should we talk about the Big Red Arrow Club? I don't know if we should.
I don't know. It's a bit close to the whole Illuminati thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't care.
It's nothing like that. We're not like those guys.
We are part of a group of YouTubers called the Big Red Arrow Club.
The Bra Club.
The Bra Club. And I'm not going to name any other members of it, because I know that there will be people out there that will go, ooh, there's, you haven't invited such and such or such and such, but there's no politics involved. It's just people will say, what about such and such? And we invite them. And it just it grows like that. But we haven't just invited everybody, because it just wouldn't work that way. But when we started out, it was just only a few of us. I'd only just been making technical repair videos for a couple of months, probably 6 months. And they weren't going very well. After the break from the pinball machine build, and then going back to making these, I was a little bit disappointed that I wasn't getting anywhere near the views that I kind of expected. But I wasn't making the thumbnails I was using were terrible. Some of the practice I was doing, actually editing the videos were questionable. Some of the audio quality was poor. And once I got inside this group of other people, I could actually ask questions. And this is something I can remember right at the start, on Twitter, direct messaging Dave from Rose Tinted Spectrum and saying, is there a group of YouTube people, that I can join to ask questions? And he went, nope. There isn't. And there wasn't at the time. So a little while later, we just made one, and the difference it's made to me is stunning. I can't believe that that there is so much good information available from other people. That there are so many clever people that are willing to share their secrets of how they make things good.
Well, I remember when you invited me, and
oh yeah, you didn't qualify though, because we weren't the Big Red Arrow Club at the time. We were the sub 5K club, and you had more than 5,000 subs.
Indeed, only just over at the time. But yeah, you invited me, and I remember one of the very first things I did when I joined the Discord, and I did mention it at the time. But obviously, one of the first things you got to do is sort of check out what people have been saying about you. So obviously, you scroll back through the chat and see what people have been saying. And it's you and Dave saying, I think I might ask Reese to join. Do you think he'll say yes? And I really love his channel. I really hope he joins. And it was like,
yeah, that was a plant. The actual conversation went very differently.
Yeah, it was all the where it says edited next to each one. It's like, they've gone through and had tidy up before they've invited me.
No, we have to be careful what we say, because we never know who's going to join.
It's the kind of stuff that you can't really discuss in public, because it's just, if you're not sort of involved in that process of kind of making videos and specifically looking for that kind of help, it's probably quite boring. Like if we were posting it on Twitter saying, oh, what do you think of this thumbnail kind of thing, and get a couple of replies from people and tweak it, and I mean that's when you kind of pick it apart and kind of look at the kind of stuff that gets discussed, it's hard to describe it in a way that makes it sound interesting, isn't it? It's like you post your thumbnail and you say, what do you think of that, guys? And everyone says, nope, you want to make the text bigger, nope, you want to drop shadow on that, don't like the concept, you want to change this, you want to change that, and then you go through about 10 different iterations until everyone agrees. And obviously you don't have to listen to people, but it's incredibly useful to have, but it's good that it kind of, that there's a place that we can do it and not bore everyone else with it.
I've always liked to engage with my Twitter followers. I've got a really good core group of Twitter followers that are just really nice people and are always interested in what you say and what you do. And I'll talk about, I keep it on topic. My More Fun Making It Twitter account is the only Twitter account I use, and I don't put any personal stuff on there. I'll put the occasional silly thing, like I saw some hedgehogs having sex outside my door, but the other night, and so that's on there. I should get a few new followers from that. But the whole thing of getting your community involved in what you're doing behind the scenes, Twitter might not be the place for that, but I don't mind sharing. Yeah, I like to give updates of work in progress. But and I'll show a screenshot of Resolve just as a teaser of like, oh, here's a video coming. But yeah, you can't do the nuts and bolts out in front of everybody and entertain them with the end product as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously different approaches work for different people. I don't really like showing work in progress stuff too much. And I think part of that is because I've done it in the past and then I've kind of changed my mind and got bored with something and moved on to something else. And then people ask you questions about it. They're like, oh, whatever happened with this? And it's like, yeah, I kind of abandoned that one. It's a bit embarrassing.
Are you one of these people that, well, I am one of these people, but don't like spoilers?
Yes, no, yeah.
Because I've, a couple of times I'm pretty sure that I've done this with you where I've gone, yeah, in fact, I know I have. I can think of a specific example where I've done something in Resolve and I'm so excited about it and this is brilliant. I love the way this has worked. And I've clipped it out and exported it and then I've uploaded it to my second channel so I can share it with people. And I'm like, do you want to see this? And you've gone, no. No. I'll wait till the finished video. Oh, okay. I'm completely deflated now, but okay, thanks.
Sorry. Well, I mean, if you were looking for feedback, but
it's never that.
You just want to show off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've done stuff like that as well. Obviously, like that first solo video where I kind of first worked out the magic mask stuff in Resolve, and there's that shot where I'm kind of passing the solar panel to myself on the roof, brilliant. And I sent you that before. Whenever it must have taken me like 2 hours to do that sort of 10-second shot, and when it all finally came together, I was like, oh, I'm going to send that to Lee because he's going to love that.
I do appreciate a good Resolve Fusion page exploit.
Well, because you obviously, I think you're better at all of that kind of stuff than that side of things than I am, because I just can't be bothered to learn any of it. And you're always just use nodes, just use the Fusion tab, just use the motion tracking stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do a transparent PNG in Photoshop and just slap it on the screen. That'll do.
And just walk it across the screen with my mouse. I mean, there's a lot to be said for doing that, actually. But ask Rose Tinted Spectrum.
Yeah,
you can do a lot without all the fancy effects, but this all goes back down to my obsession with learning things. I'm a serial learner. I'm unfortunately also a serial forgetter, but that actually makes learning the things again a bit of a challenge. Yes, it's good fun.
It's interesting when you talk to people who do this, that we all kind of have quite a similar mindset, don't we? I think we're all tinkerers and people with far too many hobbies.
Yes, definitely that. I'm sitting in a. You can look around my head now, if this wasn't a podcast, and see. You could say, oh yeah, there's one hobby there, and there's another one over there. This is the results of a couple of years of obsessive hobbying. Yeah, but actually, it's the danger with me is I'll get interested in something, and then I might get bored of it, and it's whether you can stay with it. And every now and then you'll find something. So I found tennis, and that I stuck with that, and then I couldn't, and then I found snooker, and then I couldn't because of a space lurgy, and now I've found the retro. Well, it's two things with YouTube and vintage tech repairs. I've got two hobbies that are tied intrinsically together to make this thing that is a different hobby by itself. Yeah, I love it. I really enjoy it.
It does add an extra dimension to stuff that you were doing anyway.
Yeah, time.
It does, yeah. Obviously, trying to turn everything into a video does end up kind of making it take 10 times longer. But yeah, it's another hobby within a hobby. But yeah, I mean, when I started my channel, 3.5 years ago, it was kind of before all of that stuff, like just before all of that stuff happened. Like you say, lockdowns and that kind of stuff meant that I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was at home, which was absolutely ideal for YouTubing. But I've continued. Obviously, we're kind of free now to go back to work and go back to do our other hobbies and stuff. But it's like, no, I want to carry on making YouTube videos.
It does impinge on our free time, all this real life stuff.
And it's not the same for everyone. Obviously, quite a few people started channels and daily vlogging and podcasts and stuff during lockdown that have kind of been abandoned now. And, that's fair enough. But
survival of the fittest, Reese.
Well, yeah, they haven't got what it takes to cut it in this fast-paced, competitive environment that is YouTube.
It's all good fun. And I think, the fact that we're managing to entertain other people and give people, maybe put a smile on other people's faces as well.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to steal the question that you asked me the other day.
Oh, no, you're not.
Unless you want to ask me first.
No, you can ask me if you want. It's your show.
It's barely a show, but thank you. So where do you see your channel in 5 years' time? You think you'll still be doing this?
Yeah, I do. No, I do. I do think I'll still be doing this. I feel like I found something that I can take. I'm not a serious person. I've never taken myself very seriously. But I can pour myself into this. I don't see myself doing this for a living. I would like to do this for a living, but I do worry that doing it for a living will take the joy from it. That is a concern, and I've found that with a lot of other things. I'm quite a technically minded person. I've always been good with computers and technology, and as soon as somebody mentions that, maybe you could do that for a living, I just I get repulsed by that thought. So that does concern me, but in 5 years' time, I might have caught you.
Yeah, that's a good thing to aim for. Actually,
there's a thing, not everybody might be aware of this, but there's a website called Social Blade where you can track...
I'm obsessed with Social Blade.
You can track your own stats and other social media platform stats. And I've had recently a very good month. After we met up at... the RMC cave. Actually, before the day before we went, I released a video which was doing okay. I can remember showing you my phone when we were sitting there at the board game night. I think my episode was number 2 out of 10. It was chugging along. It was doing okay. I was happy with those stats. And then by the Monday morning, it just blew up, and it's like the biggest video that's been on my channel. And off of the back of that, I've gone flying through 3,000 subs and up to nearly 3,500 now, piling on 700 extra subs in 28 days.
That's impressive.
And so on Social Blade, what you can do on Social Blade is you can compare your channel to somebody else's channel. So if I compare my channel to your channel, I will catch you in 2025, I think.
Oh.
If I can keep this pace up. So I just have to have a minor viral video every month for the next 2 years, and I'm going to get you.
Well, I hope you do.
If you don't release anything, that is.
But yeah, it's a bit funny with its predictions, isn't it? Because it thinks
Oh,
everything's linear. So I remember
Yeah.
checking it when I had the solar videos, and it was like, oh, by this time next year, you'll have 1 million subscribers. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I believe it.
But it's interesting you mentioned that video, actually, because was that the first one that you did that your actual face appeared in?
Yeah, my actual face, this old ragged, rugged thing. Actually, it's not, because that first
No, that's true.
video, yeah, well, with all the pinball stuff, I would appear, but I wouldn't be like doing talking head to camera, or piece to camera. But yeah, that is the first one of those, and I've got to put it down partly to that. I think it was a few things that came together. But that was crazy, that one, because that Atari that I repaired, that was a year ago. That footage was recorded on my phone a year ago. I mean, you gave me the RAM chips to put in there, not by throwing them at my head. That was actually through the post. That's the camera trickery that we used.
Bit of the old razzle dazzle.
That was that really surprised me, because I was running out of time because of the preparations. There was a few things going on the week before we went to the cave, and I was running out of time, and I needed to get a video out. I wanted to get a video out before, because I wanted, like you say, you've got to take your opportunities, and I wanted to have a video out while I was there, just because it would, might get a few extra views. Which sounds really weird, but it's the sort of thing you think about. So I just found some footage, and I thought, oh, I haven't done that video yet. Maybe it's about time I did that, but I'm missing a load of B-roll, and there's no point in trying to make B-roll a year later with different equipment. It will look odd and weird. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll actually sit in front of the camera like Reese does, and give that a go. And it worked really well.
Yeah, no, it did. It was amazing. And you had the teleprompter for that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I got the I found a teleprompter. I just searched on Amazon for a cheap one and bought it, and it was really good. And you went, oh yeah, it's the same as the one I've got. Yeah.
And you were natural with that, because I know the first few videos I did with mine, I was proper death stare straight into the camera, like I was trying to, just like that.
Yeah, do you know what, the talking to people isn't something that I've ever really struggled with. I don't mind talking to people. I'm not a shy person, but I'm not an extrovert. But one of the things that I've, life skills that actually 2 life skills that I've had that have set me in good stead are, I used to be a barman.
All right.
So I'm quite comfortable talking to strangers, and I used to be a tennis coach. So I would talk to people in big groups and be in charge. And so I don't mind projecting myself onto people and my opinions. But yeah, I think that's helped me in a lot of different things in doing this. But specifically that talking heads thing, actually talking to a camera, actually staring into the lens that looks right back into your soul. That's I didn't find that too difficult at all. I was quite happy with how that turned out. But that blew up, and the next one flopped. So
always the way. It's always the way. So disappointing when it happens, but you've got to keep pulling the levers on the Skinner box, hoping for a treat to drop out.
I know that I'm going to get a big treat out of the next one, because
exactly.
I think the reason one of the reasons that one did really well was your little cameo in it. Really struck a chord with people. So on the next one I'm doing, I've basically got 17 of those. Well,
maybe the video will do 17 times as well.
Who knows?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be nice. Be nice to be recognised a bit.
Okay, well, thank you very much for chatting. Is there anything else, or should we wrap it up there?
Do you validate parking?
Get out. So, yeah, no, seriously, thank you. It's been great. Obviously, this is the first time I've done this, and I think it's gone very well. I will put links to Lee's stuff in the usual places, obviously YouTube and Twitter and your website and anything else.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really do enjoy your rambles. There are a few podcasts that I will religiously listen to, and it was really nice actually driving back from the cave a couple of weeks ago, and you kindly released a ramble for my journey back as well. That was...
They go out on a Sunday. Yeah, I mean, the first few were quite unstructured, but I think I'm slowly getting there.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Really good stuff. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you very much. Cool. Okay.
Excellent.
That's it.
Well,
Bye.
good. Thanks. Bye.